good YouTube? It's Adam from My Music Mobile. Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're gonna go ahead and break down my remake of Tyler the Creator's Like Him featuring Lola Young. The average tempo for this one is 96 beats per minute. The time signature is in 6/8, and the track is produced by Tyler the Creator. In this track, there are 5 different sections with sort of transitional elements in between them. So let's start off with the first one, and that being the intro. So for this piano sound, I'm using a stock Logic piano. You could find it under Piano Processed Old Time Recording Keys. It kind of has the sound of the keys in there that you hear in the original track. I just had to do a little bit of EQ to tone down that sound. So here is that EQ. Kind of takes out that muddiness and roominess in that sound of the keys itself. And then that sort of arpeggiated pattern goes into the next sort of little chord pattern that Tyler the Creator plays. So for this piano section, we are using another stock Logic instrument. We are using Logic's Studio Piano using the Vintage Upright preset. I just added in a few effects just to get the tone that I needed to match the original track. So I added a bit crusher just for some grittiness. A little bit of EQ to brighten it up. And then I added in Logic's Fat Effects just to thicken up the piano. So that kind of plays out for several bars, or a lot of bars. Here's the second piece. So that piano just carries on. In the background, we have the classic breath vox that Tyler the Creator loves to put into his tracks. This is the pattern. Ooh. And then in the background, in Tyler the Creator fashion, there's a lot of like little ad-libs. I tried to get them all. Here is one of them. So that piano carries on until we get into this transitional element that goes into our second section of the track. So first up, we get the bass guitar that sort of plays throughout the entire track. So for this sound, we are using a stock bass instrument in Logic Pro. It can be found under Legacy, Logic Bass, Electric Bass, the Liverpool Bass preset. No processing really on it, just a little bit of compression. And then we get some drums. Now all these drum samples is from the Chromacopia Deconstructed Kit. Link will be down below. We got the crash on the ones. We get the kick. We get the hi-hat. We get the snare. And then we get a roll right here. All right, and we also have a snare on this side here. And all together, sounds like this. for this second section, a lot of instruments come into play. For one, we get, let's start off with the pad sounds. We get this right here. Here's the progression. For the sound, we are using Logic's Retro Synth, the Bright Strings preset. These are the settings right here. A little bit EQ for some tone shaping. Then layered with that, we get this pad. Same pattern. This is basically just a SuperSaw pad. I'm using Logic's ES2 synthesizer, the default setting that loads up. Just load it up on all sawtooth oscillators, on all the oscillators, and some EQ for some tone shaping. And together, and then we have like that lead sort of guitar type of sound, but it's not actually a guitar, it's a synth. So for that, I'm using Logic's ES2. We are just using a square oscillator to give that tone that we need, of course. And then here are some of my effects. We have Logic's Guitar Amp Pro. Kind of gives it that grittiness. We have Logic's pedal board with a little bit of fuzz on it as well. Just to make it sound more like an electric guitar. Then we have some reverb. And of course, some EQ for tone shaping. And then underneath that, we get sort of those gliding synth sounds. And for that sound, it's just a basic sine wave. We're using Logic's ES2 synthesizer. These are the settings. The main thing to note right here is just the glide, so that when these notes sort of overlap, it's going to glide into each other. So right here. And then of course the drums. So we get the same snare happening, the same crash happening. We get a new snare. We get a kick. We got like a couple perks over here. Here's another perk sound here. Sort of like an open hat type of thing. We got the hi-hat. Then we get that Vox breath once again. We get a little tom break over here. And then we get this whistle that happens in the background. All right, carrying on in this section of the track, we get some acoustic guitars and it sounds like this. For these guitars, I'm using a stock Logic guitar. You can find it under Guitar, Acoustic Guitar. Nothing really happening as far as processing goes, just straight stock sound right there. And then we get to the transitional element that goes from this section to the third section. All right, so really it's just the same two pad sounds. These are the chords for each one of them. And then we go into this section here. So for this first sound right here, we get this. For that sound, we are using a keyboard sound or a stock Logic sound found under keyboards, the granular vibra phone preset. This is the pattern. And then we have a clav playing with it, layered on top, playing the same pattern. Now for this clav, we are using a stock clav in Logic, so it can be found under Vintage Clav, the Cop Show clav. And then of course we have the bass guitar playing in the background for our bass. This is the pattern right here. We have this pad sound, synthy keyboard type of sound playing in the background. For this, we are using a preset that I used in the Darling I remake, so I just saved that as a patch and replayed it here. This is the Alchemy settings that I'm using. So it's just a nice keyboard synthy sound that works for this track as well. He actually uses this in a lot of his tracks, this type of sound. We have piano playing in the background. Same piano from the intro. That vintage upright. And then we have this vintage upright playing the top melody as well. So all together. Set of chords, transitional piece to the fourth section. Piano. Take a closer look at the first piece of this fourth section. So we have the same piano right over here, playing some chords, same keyboard sound, playing those same chords but in sort of like a stabby type of way. We have our bass. It's a crazy bass pattern. All right, we have our SuperSaw lead. For this sound, we are using a SuperSaw preset in Logic's Alchemy. It is called the SuperSaw lead. Then I just use some EQ for some tone shaping and of course some reverb just to put that sound into a space. Glockenspiel right here. Playing that top melody. For that sound, we are using a preset in Logic. You can find it under Legacy, Jam Pack Symphony Orchestra, Mallets, the Orchestra Glockenspiel. And all that together sounds like this. It's a beautiful section. Then we have this right here. Another piano push to the right. So for this sound, we are using another vintage upright. This one is just pushed to the right channel. And once again, some EQ for tone shaping. We have the same pad sounds over here. Just playing these chords. We have the same drums as before, except we get this tom roll. That happens pretty much every single other bar. And then for this section, we get the classic pitched up synthesizer that we hear in a lot of Tyler the Creator tracks. So for this sound, it sounds like this on its own. Let's go right here. So that's the audio format right there. The MIDI looks like this. It's just basically using one note hitting on the song's key of E. For that sound, we are using Logic's ES2 synthesizer, just using a SuperSaw preset once again. I bounced that in place, and the reason why I bounced that in place is because I automated the pitch. Let me just go over here to AU pitch. to automate the pitch, I'm using Logic's AU pitch. And then we get this section right here, sort of little mid section here. The only thing that changes up is the pattern of the SuperSaw. We get some new chords as well. These are the chords. And then right here, we just get a one note string sound using Logic's retro synth right over here, just to give this section a little bit more energy than the one previous. So that crazy transitional piece that gets all big and huge comes into this sort of outro bit that gets all quiet, and then we get this synth sound right here. For that sound, we are using Logic's ES2 synthesizer. These are the settings right here. It's basically just a square wave once again, using a bit crusher for some crunchiness to the sound. And then we are using some reverb once again to put it into a space. And then from that sound, we go into the outro chords using the same strings as before and that square lead guitar type of sound. So that right there is the breakdown of Tyler the Creator's Like Him featuring Lola Young. Let's go ahead and take a listen to everything together. And that right there is Like Him by Tyler Creator, a masterpiece featuring Lola Young. For you Logic Pro users out there, I'm going to go ahead and save this entire session for you. Place it as a downloadable link below this video. If you don't use Logic, I got your back as well. I'm going to go ahead and export all the mini stems, audio stems, and of course include the drum kit that you heard in this remake. You can find that entire playback down below the like button as well. If you do have a question on this or just want to chat or have any suggestions for future videos, let's go chat down below. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one later. Peace.